In previous lecture, we have discussed about the uh, single phase transformer, their constructions, operating principles, types, and so on. Now, in this lecture, we will discuss about the EMF equation of single phase transformer. Now, before we start today's lecture, the transformer basically operates based on the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. It is a static device which transfers electrical energy from one circuit to another circuit through the medium of the magnetic field and without changing the frequency that we have discussed in the previous lecture. Today, before we start the EMFification, let's see the ideal transformer concept. Basically, the ideal transformer is an imaginary concept that has no core loss, no ohmic resistance, therefore no ohmic loss, and there is no leakage flux also. This is considered as the ideal transformer. Now, this is the schematic diagram of the transformer. We have already discussed in previous lecture that if we apply the voltage in the primary winding, let's say V1, then if the secondary circuit is opened, therefore a current will flow through the primary winding. This is represented as Im, that is the magnetizing current. Here N1 is the number of turn in the primary winding and N2 is the number of turn in the secondary winding. Now when the current Im circulates through this coil, then a magnetomotive force is developed. It is represented by the current into number of turns. And due to this magnetomotive force, a flux will be produced. This is the mutual flux represented by phi m, and it is the magnetomotive force upon the reluctance. So this mutual flux will circulate through the core of the transformer. So it will cut both the primary as well as the secondary winding, and according to the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, the EMF will be induced in primary as well as in the secondary side. So that will be discussed later, but now the ideal transformer. The ideal transformer has some important characteristics based on which it is considered as the ideal. So the first one is the resistance of their primary and the secondary windings should be zero. That means in ideal condition, we consider the resistance of the primary winding as well as the resistance of the secondary winding should be zero. So if there is no resistance in primary as well as in the secondary side, therefore due to the current flowing in the windings, there will be no I square R loss. The second point is it is free from iron losses. The iron loss is basically the combination of hysteresis loss and eddy current loss. The combination is called the iron loss, and it is the sum of hysteresis loss and eddy current loss. These two losses basically created because of the alternating flux flowing through a high permeability material. As here phi m is flowing to the core material, so this flux is changing with respect to time. But due to this change in flux nature, there will be no hysteresis loss and there will be no eddy current loss in case of an ideal transformer. The next point is there will be no leakage flux in the transformer. That means the whole flux which is produced in the primary side will cut the secondary winding as well as the primary winding. That means here when the current is flowing to the primary winding, here the flux will be developed, the magnetomotive force will be produced, and it is considered that there will be no leakage flux in this system. The entire flux will flow to the high permeability core material. There will be no leakage flux in the system. Leakage flux means the amount of flux which follow the unintended path. That means other than this core material, if the flux line flows through air, let's say here some amount of flux is flowing through this part. So this is considered as a leakage flux. But in case of ideal transformer, it is considered that there will be no leakage flux. The next point is the core of the ideal transformer should have infinite permeability. It means there will be less magnetizing current required for magnetizing the core. That means if the permeability is very low, permeability is very high, it is infinite, then the amount of current required to produce the mutual flux is very, very small. It is almost negligible. As in case of ideal transformer, there is no power loss, so the output power is equal to the input power. Here we have considered there is no resistance, so there will be no I square R loss. So the I square R loss in primary as well as in the secondary side will be zero. There is no hysteresis loss and no eddy current loss. That means there will be no iron losses. The leakage flux is equal to zero. So there will be no power loss in the operation of the transformer. That means the amount of power is transferred in the input side. The total amount of power will be received in the secondary side. Therefore, the efficiency of the transformer will be 100%. So in case of ideal transformer, it is considered that the efficiency should be 100% because there is no losses. But remember one thing, in actual condition, the above mentioned properties are not possible in case of practical transformer. So these are all the assumptions. If any transformer follow these characteristics, follow these assumptions, then it can be considered as the ideal. But in actual case, in practical transformer, these are not possible. So what is the actual transformer or practical transformer? The practical transformer basically differs from the ideal transformer in different ways. Let's see the figure. Here, this is the circuit diagram of a practical transformer. N1 and N2 are the number of turns in primary as well as in the secondary side. The alternating voltage V1 is applied in the primary side. So a current will flow through the primary winding, it is I1. If the secondary side is connected with some load, then the current flowing in the primary side is represented by I1. This is called the primary current. Now in practical transformers, there should be some resistance in primary winding as well as in the secondary winding. Therefore, because of the current in primary, there will be a copper loss or ohmic loss. It will be I1 square into R1. Similarly, if the load is connected across the secondary winding, then in the secondary side, I2 current will be flowing, and because of this I2 current, another loss will be occurred in the secondary winding. This is represented as I2 square into R2. And this combination is considered as the total copper loss of the transformer. So in practical transformer, definitely there will be resistance of the winding. So there will be definitely some ohmic loss in the transformer. The next is here the current is alternating. So current is changing with respect to time. It is a sinusoidal quantity. So corresponding flux that is produced, it will be also alternating in nature. The flux will also change with respect to the time. And when this flux flowing through the high permeability core material of the transformer, there will be a hysteresis loss produced in the material. We have already discussed about the hysteresis losses. It is basically B versus H characteristics of a magnetic material. Because of the alternating flux, it creates a loop. This is called the hysteresis loop. And the area of the hysteresis loop depends upon the coercive force and the retentive force. And these two combined creates a loss. This is called the hysteresis loss. Similarly, because of this alternating flux, the some EMF will be induced in the core material also. the EMF will be induced in primary as well as secondary winding, but EMF will also be induced in the core material because the ferromagnetic core material is also good of current conduction. So the EMF which is induced in the core material, because of this, a current will start to circulate through the core material. This is called the eddy current. And because of this eddy current, a losses will occur, and this will be considered as a eddy current loss. So in practical transformers, there will be some hysteresis loss, there will be some eddy current loss, and these two losses occur in the core of the transformer, which is made by the iron. That's why it is considered as the iron loss. So in practical transformer, there will be copper loss, there will be iron loss. The next point is the so here at the points there will be definitely some resistance of the winding. There will be eddy current loss as well as the hysteresis loss in the actual transformer. The next is the leakage flux. As we have seen that the magnetomotive force is developed initially in the primary winding of the transformer. So the flux will start to flow through the core of the transformer. But some amount of flux will also flow through the air and it will circulate locally. Similarly, due to the current in the secondary winding because of the load, another flux will be developed in the secondary winding and it will also circulate in the local area. These two fluxes are considered as a leakage flux because this flux does not considered as a mutual flux because this flux does not cut the secondary winding or the flux which is produced in the secondary winding does not cut the primary winding. So these are considered as a local flux and this is considered as a leakage flux. The next point is we have considered the permeability of the material should be infinite in case of ideal transformer. But in actual case, the core material should have some finite permeability. That means the magnetizing current, that is the current that is flowing in the primary winding, when the secondary side is not connected to the load, the amount of the current will not be equal to zero. Here it is also considered as for ideal transformer, it was considered that the permeability is constant. This is considered for ideal transformer. But in practical case, the permeability is not constant and that can be easily identified from the BH characteristics. Because if the permeability was constant, then the nature of the B versus H characteristics for the alternating flux will be a straight line passing through the origin. But we have seen that B versus H characteristics is a loop and this loop indicates the mu is not a constant. So these are the concept of the ideal transformers as well as the practical transformer. Next, the EMF equation of the transformer. So before we start the EMF equation, here we consider a sinusoidally varying voltage is applied in the primary side when the secondary side is opened. Remember one thing here we are discussing the EMF equation of the transformer considering the transformer is ideal. We consider initially the transformer is ideal. Whereas for practical the value does not differ very much. So you can consider initially the ideal transformer because it makes the equations, it makes the calculations simple. So initially an alternating voltage is applied in the primary side. So an alternating current will flow in the primary winding and this is considered as the magnetizing current. Remember this is for the ideal transformer. where N1 and N2 are the number of turns in primary as well as in the secondary side. So corresponding magnetomotive force will be developed that we have already discussed. The magnetomotive force will be represented as the current in the primary winding into the number of turn of the primary side. And hence the flux will be developed. This is called the mutual flux. It will be the magnetomotive force, that is magnetizing current into number of turn of the primary upon the reluctance. And this mutual flux will flow through the high permeability core material. Because the flux always follow the high permeability path, so the flux will circulate through the high permeability material. Now remember one thing here, we consider the current as AC because here we have applied the AC voltage. So the current will also be AC in nature. So the magnetizing current will be AC in nature with respect to the time. And the mutual flux depends upon the current because here the number of turns in the primary is a constant value and the reluctance of the material is also almost constant. Therefore, the mutual flux will also be the sinusoidal as the current. That means when the current is zero, the flux will also be zero. When the current is maximum, the flux will also be maximum, and so on. So here is the point. When we apply the alternating voltage to the primary winding, an alternating current will start to flow in the primary winding, which is represented by IM. As a result, alternating flux phi m will set up in the iron core of the transformer. The sinusoidal flux links both the primary as well as the secondary winding because the flux is circulating through the material and the primary and secondary windings are placed on the limbs of the transformer. So definitely this flux will cut both the windings. Because of this phenomena of the mutual induction, EMF will be induced in primary as well as in the secondary winding. As we have already discussed here, the flux will depend upon the current, so it will be also changing with respect to the time. Therefore, this changing flux will cut the primary winding as well as the secondary winding. Then, according to the Faraday law of electromagnetic induction, the EMF will be induced in the primary winding as well as in the secondary winding because here the flux is changing with respect to the time. Therefore, depending upon the number of turns in the primary as well as in the secondary, the EMF will be induced in primary and also in the secondary side. The magnitude of this EMF will be calculated using EMF equation just now. Here the function of the flux is a sinusoidal that we have already discussed here. So this flux, mutual flux can be represented by phi max sin omega t and it can be shown by this figure. Here this is the mutual flux depends upon time, that is omega t. Here this is the maximum value of the flux. So when the current is zero, the flux will be zero. When the current is maximum, the flux is also maximum. When the current is negative, the flux will also be negative. So this flux is also a sinusoidal quantity. That's why it can be represented as phi max sin omega t. Now, when this flux cuts the primary and secondary winding, then according to the Faraday law of electromagnetic induction, the EMF will be induced in primary as well as in the secondary, and it can be represented as E1 will be equal to minus N1 d of phi m by dt. Here minus sign is because of the Lenz's law, because the EMF induced will oppose its cause. N1 is the number of turn of the primary and phi m is the mutual flux which changes with respect to the time. So this is the instantaneous value of the induced EMF in the primary side. Similarly, in the secondary side, the EMF induced will be minus N2 d phi m by dt. So here we can see that the value of this induced EMF will be almost same, because in both the cases the same mutual flux is changing with respect to time. That means d phi m by dt is common for both the induced EMF. The only variation is the number of turns. So depending upon the number of turns, the induced EMF value will be changes for primary as well as for the secondary side. So now solve this value. So E1 can be written as minus N1 d of dt of phi max sin omega t. We put the value of phi m, that is phi max sin omega t. So it can be written as minus N1 phi max d upon dt of sin omega t. It will be omega into cos omega t. Now it is minus cos omega t. So minus cos omega t can be converted to a sine value. So it will be N1 phi max omega. So minus cos omega t can be written as sine omega t minus 90 degree. So this is the instantaneous value of the induced EMF in primary side of the transformer, in the primary winding. Similarly, from secondary side, E2 can be also calculated in the same process, and the E2 can be written as N2 phi max omega sine omega t minus 90 degree. In the same process, we can also find the value of E2. So these are the instantaneous EMF induced in primary as well as in the secondary side. Here we can see that everything is same except the number of turns. We know that the instantaneous EMF, which is depends upon the time t, this value will be maximum when the sinusoidal term is maximum, and the sine time will be maximum, and that will be equal to 1. So when sine omega t minus 90 degree is equal to 1, the value of E1 will be maximum. That means the induced EMF will be maximum. So it can be written as E1 max, and it will be N1 phi max into omega. And similarly, the E2 max, that is the maximum induced EMF in the secondary winding, it is E2 max, and it can be written as N2 phi max into omega. So this is the maximum induced EMF in primary as well as in the secondary side. Here one thing you must remember, that the omega means it is 2 pi f, where f is the supply frequency of the voltage that is applied in the primary side. So the frequency will be same both in the primary side as well as in the secondary side. So omega is common for both the conditions. Now the E1 induced EMF E1 can be represented in terms of E1 max. Instead of N1 phi max omega, we can write E1 max, and here instead of N2 phi max omega, we can write E2 max. So let's consider. So here E1 will be equal to E1 max sine omega t minus 90 degree, and E2 will be equal to E2 max sine omega t minus 90 degree. So these are the expression of the instantaneous EMF in primary as well as in the secondary side. Now find the value of RMS value. As we know that in case of sinusoidal quantity, the RMS value will be equal to maximum value upon root 2. So the RMS value of the induced EMF in primary side can be written as E1 max upon root 2, where E1 max equal to N1 phi max into omega, and omega can be written as 2 pi f upon root 2. So after solving, we will get the value as 4.44 f phi max into N1. So this is the value of the RMS value of the induced EMF in the primary winding. It is 4.44 f phi max into N1. This is the RMS voltage in the primary side. Similarly, the EMF induced in the secondary side, its RMS value can be written as A2. So it will be A2 max upon root 2, and in the same process we will get 4.44 f phi max into N2. So this is the value of the induced EMF in the secondary side. That means when the secondary side is opened, if we apply the voltage in the primary side is V1, the number of turn of primary and secondary is N1 and N2, then a current will flow in the primary is IM. Corresponding a mutual flux will be developed. This is phi m, and because of this mutual flux, EMF will be induced in primary. It is E1, and the EMF induced in the secondary will be E2. Now, the direction of the induced EMF in the primary should be such that it will oppose the cause, and here the cause is the supply voltage. Because EMF is induced because of the mutual flux is produced because of the current, alternating current, and the alternating current is flowing because of the supply voltage. Therefore, according to the Lenz's law, this induced EMF in the primary side should oppose the supply voltage. Remember one thing we have initially considered during the EMF equation, that the transformer is ideal. And for ideal transformer, there is no resistance of the primary side. So if there is no resistance of the primary side, that means there will be no voltage drop in the primary winding. Therefore, the V1 will be equal but opposite of the induced EMF in the primary side. Or we can write the instantaneous value of the supply voltage will be equal to the instantaneous value of the induced EMF with negative sign. Here negative sign indicates it is in the opposite. So at each and every instant, the induced EMF in the primary will oppose the supply voltage. Now, from this relation of the RMS value of the induced EMF, here we can write E1 by N1. So we'll get 4.44 F into phi max, where E1 is the induced EMF of the primary winding and N1 is the number of turn of the primary side. So E1 by N1 is considered as the induced EMF per turn. So it is a constant value because frequency of the supply is constant and maximum value of the flux is also constant. Similarly, from the secondary side, if we write A2 by N2, we will get same value 4.44 F into phi max. So we can write E1 by N1 is equal to A2 by N2, and it is 4.44 F into 5 max, and it is a constant value. This constant value is considered as the induced EMF per turn. That means the EMF induced in one turn is same both in primary as well as in the secondary side. Therefore, we can conclude where the number of turn is more, that side the voltage will also be more. So if N1 is greater than N2, if N1 is greater than N2, that means the induced EMF in the primary side will be greater than the induced EMF in the secondary side. Now remember, it is an ideal transformer. So if we connect a load here, so there will be the voltage across the load, it is considered as V2, and the current flowing here will be I2. As it is ideal, therefore there will be no losses in the secondary side also. So the value of the A2 will be equal to V2. That means the EMF which is induced in the secondary side, the same voltage will be applied across the load because it is ideal. No losses will be there. Here the value will be equal. It will not be equal and opposite because here V2 is not induced. V2 is created because the load is connected. Therefore, we can also write as E1 is greater than E2, then from this relation, we can write V1 is greater than V2. That means when the number of turn of the primary is more than the number of turn of secondary, it means the voltage in the primary side is more than the voltage in the secondary side, and this is considered as a step down transformer. That means we are supplying the high voltage but we are getting low voltage. So this is considered as a step down transformer. Similarly, if the value of N1 is less than N2, that means the number of turn in primary is less than the number of turn in the secondary. That means the induced EMF in the primary will be less than the induced EMF in the secondary, and it means V1 is less than V2. So if the number of turn in primary is less than the number of turn in secondary, that means the low voltage will be applied in the primary side and high voltage will get in the load side. So this is the concept of the step up transformer. So in other words, we can say for a step down transformer, the number of turn in the primary is more than the number of turn in secondary, and in case of step up transformer, the number of turn of the secondary is more than the number of turn of primary. Now see this relation again. Now from this ratio, we can further write A2 by E1 is equal to N2 by N1, because here it is E1 by N1 is equal to E2 by N2, and that is a constant. So we can write E2 by E1 is equal to N2 by N1. For ideal transformers, E2 is equal to V2 and the magnitude of E1 is equal to the magnitude of V1. So it creates a relation, and this relation is a constant represented by capital K. This is called as transformation ratio. This is called transformation ratio. Later, the current relation will also be included here. That will be discussed later. So this ratio is considered as a transformation ratio, and the transformation ratio states that what is the relation of the primary and secondary side of a transformer. Using transformation ratio, we can easily say what will be the amount of voltage increased or decreased depending upon their number of turns. So again, the circuit is here. V1 is the voltage applied. N1, N2 are the number of turns. Current here is Im. The EMF induced in the primary is E1, and here it will be E2. Here it is at no load condition, so no load is connected here, and the mutual flux will be produced is phi m. Let's try to draw the phasor diagram of all the parameters for an ideal transformer at no load condition. First of all, we'll consider the mutual flux phi m as the reference value. We have already seen phi m is equal to phi max sine omega t. So in the phasor diagram of the ideal transformer at no load condition, the phi m is taken as the reference. It is drawn in the x-axis. We have seen that the EMF induced in the primary is E1 max sine omega t minus 90 degree, and similarly E2 is E2 max sine omega t minus 90 degree. Here we can see that the EMF induced in primary as well as in the secondary lagging the mutual flux by 90 degree. Here it is minus 90 degree. So the E1 and E2 will lag by 90 degree. The phi m is basically produced by the magnetizing current Im, because we have already discussed phi m will be equal to magnetizing current into number of turns upon reluctance, and the nature of the current is sinusoidal. So when the current is zero, the flux will also be zero. When the current is maximum, the flux will also be maximum. When current is further zero, flux will be zero. When the current is minimum in the negative side, the flux will also be minimum. That means we can say the current Im and phi m both are in phase, because if current is zero, flux is zero. If current is maximum, flux is maximum. So you can say the current is also in phase with the phi m. So it can be represented by this red arrow. This is the phasor diagram of the magnetizing current. Now, as we have discussed, the EMF induced in the primary and secondary both are lagging the mutual flux by 90 degree. Therefore, it will be considered as the EMF in the secondary side, that is E2, and EMF in the primary side, that is E1. Here we have considered E1 is greater than E2. That means we have considered N1 is greater than N2. That means it is the example of step down transformer, because here the voltage in the primary side is more than the voltage in the secondary side. For an ideal transformer, as there is no losses, because there is no resistance, there will be no leakage reactance, therefore the supply voltage will be equal but opposite of the induced EMF in the primary side. So the phasor diagram of the supply voltage will be equal but opposite of the value of E1. It will be drawn here. This is the value of V1, which is equal to minus V1. So this is the phasor diagram of the ideal transformer at no load condition. This is the phasor diagram of the ideal transformer at no load condition. Let's see the ideal transformer at loaded condition. So here voltage is applied in the primary side, number of turn in the primary is N1, number of turn in N2 secondary side. Initially the current flowing was IM. The same current will also flow if the load is connected also. The mutual flux is produced here. It will induce the EMF in primary, that is E1 and E2. Till now there was no current in the secondary side, but as we connect a load, then the circuit will be closed in the secondary side also. So a current will start to flow in the secondary side, and this is represented as I2. And the voltage across the load will be considered as V2. Remember, here we are considering the ideal transformer. So there will be no losses in the primary as well as no losses in the secondary side. But what happens when the current is flowing in the secondary side? What will be the change in behavior of the transformer in the primary side? Let's see. Before we start further, consider the nature of the load here is resistive inductive. So we consider the load is considered as RL type. And we know that in case of resistive inductive load, the current always lags the voltage, where V2 is the voltage across the load and I2 is the current flowing through the load. That means for resistive inductive load, I2 will lag V2. So now start the phasor diagram. As we have already considered, the phi m is the mutual flux represented by phi m max sin omega t. It is considered as the reference in the phasor diagram is phi m. The magnetizing current Im, which produce the mutual flux, this is phi m. It is produced by the mutual number of turn in the primary side, that is N1, and the magnetizing current Im upon reaction. So the magnetizing current will also be in phase with the phi m. So here it is Im. That is the magnetizing current which is responsible to create phi m. We have also discussed in case of ideal transformer, the EMF induced in the primary is E1 max sin omega t minus 90 degree, and similarly E2 is equal to E2 max sin omega t minus 90 degree. That means the induced EMF in primary and secondary will lag the mutual flux. The same concept as we have seen in the no load condition. So here it is E1 and E2. Again we consider the E2 is smaller than E1. We have taken E1 is more than E2. Consider E1 is greater than E2. And the voltage, the supply voltage V1, it will be equal and opposite of the induced EMF in the primary winding. So here it will be V1 and it will be equal to minus E1. Because at ideal condition there is no losses, so the supply voltage will be equal but opposite of the induced EMF in the primary side. So as it is E1, so its equal and opposite value will be V1. Till now, we have seen the same phasor diagram for no load condition of ideal transformer. Now, what will be happen for the loading? First of all, as it is the ideal transformer, so there will be no losses. Therefore, the value of A2 and V2 will be same for an ideal transformer. So the phasor diagram of the V2 will also be same as that of E2. The current I2 for a resistive inductive load, it will lag the voltage. So the current I2 will lag the voltage. This is the current I2 which is lagging the voltage by some angle, let's say phi, phase angle of the load. Cosine of this phase angle will give us the power factor, where phi is the phase angle of the load. Now, when this current is flowing through the secondary side of the transformer, the same current will flow through the number of turn in the secondary, that is N2. So this current will produce a magnetomotive force in the secondary side. So a magnetomotive force will be produced in the secondary side. It can be represented as F2. It will be I2 into N2. So a magnetomotive force will be developed because of the secondary current in the transformer. It is represented as F2. Now, when the magnetomotive force is developed in the secondary side, corresponding a flux will be developed, and this flux will oppose its cause according to the Lenz law. The cause of the flux which is produced here is current, that is I2. Current is flowing because of the induced EMF, and induced EMF is developed because of the mutual flux. That means here a flux will be developed and it will oppose the mutual flux. So the amount of flux that will be produced in the secondary side, it will flow in the opposite direction of the mutual flux. As a result, the magnitude of the mutual flux will be reduced. And if the magnitude of the mutual flux is reduced, therefore the EMF induced in the primary will also be lower, because the EMF induced in the primary depends upon d phi m by dt. So if the magnitude of the phi m is lower, E1 will also be reduced. But we have seen that in case of ideal transformer, the supply voltage is equal but opposite of the induced EMF in the primary side. So if magnitude of E1 is reduced, that means the V1 should also be reduced. But V1 is the supply voltage, it is the external supply voltage. It is constant. So V1 cannot be lower. So if V1 is constant, then the E1 should also be constant. And to make E1 constant, the phi m should also be constant. But this phi m is reduced by the magnetomotive force which is developed in the secondary side. So in this case, a phenomena will be happen in the transformer. A extra magnetomotive force will be developed in the primary side, and the magnitude of this extra magnetomotive force which is developed in the primary side will be equal but opposite of the magnetomotive force which is developed in the secondary side. Remember, this magnetomotive force is other than the magnetomotive force which is produced because of this current IN. So in the primary side, another magnetomotive force will be developed which is represented by F1 dash. And this magnetomotive force will be equal but opposite of the magnetomotive force which is produced in the secondary side. So they will cancel each other, and the magnitude of the mutual flux will remain constant. Therefore, the operation of the transformer will be continuous. There will be no change in the induced EMF in primary as well as in the secondary. So to produce this extra magnetomotive force in the primary side, we require some extra current. This extra current is represented as I1 dash, or sometimes it is considered as I2 dash. This is called as the load component of the primary current. It is represented as I2 dash or sometimes I1 dash. So now in this case, the total current flowing in the primary is the summation of Im and I2 dash. So the total current will be their summation, and this total current is represented by I1. This is considered as the primary current. So remember here, let's represent this value as I1, because in primary side each and every value is considered as term 1. It is considered as I1 dash. So this is the load component of the primary current. So I1 dash is load component of primary current. So in this case, the total current in the primary is I1, and it will be the summation of I1 dash and Im, that is the magnetizing current. So the total current will be the summation of these two currents. Remember, here there is a phase difference between Im and I1 dash. So we cannot add the values directly. We have to use the phasor relation. So this is the value of I1. I1 is considered as the primary current. At load condition. So this is the complete phasor diagram of the ideal transformer on loaded condition. As there is no resistance, there is no leakage reactance, therefore the losses are not considered here. So only the relations between the current and the voltages are shown here. So the only changes are here because of this load, current I2 will flow in the secondary side. Because of this current, a magnetomotive force will be developed in the secondary side. This is F2. And to neutralize this magnetomotive force, another magnetomotive force is produced in the primary side. It is considered as F1 dash, and here it is F2, so that they will cancel each other. So F1 dash and F2 will be equal but opposite, and therefore the mutual flux will remain constant. So this is the concept of the phasor diagram of the ideal transformer on loaded condition. So again, the phasor diagram is shown here. This is phi m, it is Im, it is E2 as well as V2, it is E1, it is I2, the phase angle is phi, it is V1, which is equal but opposite of E1. This is the magnetomotive force in secondary. This is the magnetomotive force developed in the primary because of the load. Corresponding current is I1 dash, and the total current in the primary is I1. So this is Im, another current is I1 dash, so the total current is I1, mutual flux, EMF in primary, EMF in secondary, current in the primary secondary side, voltage across the load. So this is the circuit and corresponding phasor diagram. Now here we have seen that the primary current I1 is equal to I1 dash plus IM, and we have already discussed that the magnetomotive force developed in the primary and developed in the secondary should be equal but opposite, where F1 dash is represented as I1 dash into N1 and F2 is equal to I2 into N2. Because of the current I2, F2 is developed, it will be I2 into N2. Because of this magnetic force, extra magnetic force will be developed in the primary, that is F1 dash. This F1 dash is produced by I1 dash, and I1 dash will flow in the primary winding, that is N1. So we can write I1 dash into N1 is equal to I2 into N2. Normally in ideal transformer we have considered the permeability is very high, and as the permeability is very high, then the magnetizing current is considered it is almost equal to zero for ideal transformers for infinite permeability. So if we consider phi n is almost equal to zero, if we neglect phi n, then we can write I1 is equal to I1 dash, and if I1 is equal to I1 dash, so from this relation we can write I1 N1 is equal to I2 N2, or we can write I1 by I2 is equal to N2 by N1. Earlier we have also developed another relation with the number of turns. It was V2 by V1, it is E2 by E1, and that is equal to N2 by N1. And now from this relation we can write it is also equal to I1 by I2. It is the complete relation of the transformation ratio represented by capital K. So this is the relation of the transformation ratio. Now from this relation, if we consider this part, that means V2 by V1 is equal to I1 by I2, or we can write V1 I1 is equal to V2 I2. So this is the relation of the voltage and current in primary as well as in secondary side of a transformer. This relation states that the apparent power in primary as well as in secondary are same. So for a transformer, the apparent power of primary and secondary is same. That means here the product of V1 I1, that is the supply voltage in the primary into the primary current, is equal to the load terminal voltage into load current. It means if the voltage of one side is lower than the voltage of other side, so the current in the first side will be more than the current in the second side. That means if V1 is less than V2, then I1 will be greater than I2. So for a step down transformer, when the primary voltage is more than the secondary voltage, there the relation of the current will be more. So for a step down transformer, V1 is greater than V2. It means the primary current will be less than the secondary current. And similarly for step up transformer, where V1 is less than V2, it means I1 will be greater than I2. So for step up transformers, the primary side voltage is lower, but the primary side current is higher compared to the secondary side. And for step down transformer, it is just different. So we can say the volt ampere in the primary is equal to the volt ampere in the secondary. So the apparent power in the primary side is equal to the apparent power of secondary side. That's all.